starting from Xiaozhi becoming the champion. Get a gift from the magician at the beginning. Magic candies, magic stones, and even theater elves who have walked alongside him encounter Dakdo again. Xiaozhi. Even if you have legendary elves, how should you deal with my peak lineup? Encounter my former travel companion again. If there is no dispute, it should be a single female lead. Chapter 1. Gifts from Mages. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The champion is a foolish athlete. At a competition called the 8 Masters Championship held in the Galar region of the Elf World City, the referee announcing the results shouted loudly. This is the final battle of the World-Class Elven Duel Ranking Competition. One side is the Arola champion with 25 years of Pokémon travel experience. 10-year-old Xiao Zhi from Jinshin Town, Guandu Prefecture. And the other side is the undefeated absolute champion of this elf world. Chaldean champion, also a World-Class champion Dandi. In the final to compete for the World Championship, the two trained 6 elves each competed, and the world-level match ended with the fall of the 6th and last elf from the Dandi side. The Spitfire Dragon. Finally, a young man named Xiaozhi won the competition, and he will also be honored as the World Champion. And this young man only 10 years old. At this moment, he became the youngest World Champion in history. Well, although there are still many difficulties to settle, it's still a good outcome to be able to achieve. Someone in front of the monitor silently closed the playback interface of the 8 Masters game, feeling infinite emotion in their heart. In his heart, the pinnacle of Xiaozhi was Carlos, who was narrowly defeated by Aelin's Water Spitfire Dragon in that championship battle. The most regrettable thing is that in Shineo, the final lineup and tactics, which could have won the championship, were blocked by the Divine Beast Man's 2 out of 6 opponents who fought halfway through. However, as the journey comes to an end, Xiaozhi may no longer have the opportunity to fight against those whom he had previously lost to. There was no other reason, but after the addition of a second male outsider on the journey, he activated the skill, Tongming, to give Xiaozhi, the protagonist of the Pokémon model worker for over 20 years, a chance to rest. In the subsequent plot, someone is no longer in the mood to continue watching. Without Xiaozhi, the subsequent plot is only treated as an optional extra. Sleep. After watching the movie, someone stood up to urge themselves, but at this moment, they felt waves of chest pain. Accompanied, someone fell down at this moment. If you pay attention to the time in the bottom right corner of the monitor, you will find that someone is staying up late chasing fans. 2:45. Here's a reminder. Quit staying up late. Ding-ling-ling, the alarm clock by the bedside made a noisy sound, and a wave popped out of the red and white Pokémon ball. Someone stayed up late and had some noise in their ears. Xiaozhi gritted his teeth and covered the painful forehead, or rather someone more accurate, later on Xiaozhi. Memories and fragments bombarded Xiaozhi's mind like lanterns. After the pain, he felt like he had experienced all of Xiaozhi's life, including all his experiences and unwillingness. Xiaozhi woke up from a strange and somewhat familiar bed, and at this moment, his bedridden habit changed significantly. Pickup truck. I saw a yellow-skinned mouse with its head tilted in front of me, seemingly wondering why my trainer woke up so quickly today. You don't even need to physically wake up with 100,000 volts on your own. Isn't that right? Did I become a little wise? And it's Xiaozhi has become the champion. Xiaozhi gasped for breath, his expression somewhat uncertain. He spoke trembling and murmuring, as if he had some nightmare. The yellow-skinned mouse beside him was slightly suspicious, wondering what kind of dream his trainer had created to reveal this terrifying beauty he had never seen before. Despite this, Xiaozhi calmed down after accepting his own situation. I became Xiaozhi and took over Xiaozhi's dream. My goal is to become a Pokémon master. Although Xiaozhi has become the champion, it seems that there is still some way to go towards the goal of becoming a master elf. Xiaozhi. Xiaozhi. There's your package. The sound of footsteps came, and someone outside the room made a gentle voice, which was Xiaozhi's mother in this house. Huazi. The door lock was moved, and a beautiful woman named Huazi pushed open the door afterwards. Although Huazi is a woman, she takes good care of herself and doesn't look like a mother of a teenager at all. A square box was held in the arms of the flower, who was wearing an apron and holding a spoon still soaked in soup. Have you already woken up? It seems that Xiaozhi has become more diligent after traveling for so long. Huazi said with some relief, bent down and placed the cardboard box at the door of the room, then turned around and urged. I don't know who sent it, but your name is written on it. I helped you bring it in. Remember to dispose of the packaging when unpacking the package. Well, I got it, Mom. Xiaozhi naturally and obediently replied, becoming both Xiaozhi and genuinely treating this woman as his mother. Well, remember to change your pajamas and come over for dinner. Then Huazi closed the door and an aroma of the stove surged into Xiaozhi's nose, making her mouth and stomach drool. Xiaozhi looked forward to breakfast, and Pikachu on one side did the same. However, compared to breakfast, one person and one mouse are more curious about the package brought in by Huazi. Pikachu jumped off the edge of the bed, curious to spin around the package, occasionally sniffing lightly with his nose, as if guessing what was inside. Xiaozhi then got out of bed together. In my impression, Xiaozhi doesn't seem to have made any online purchases recently. Did it come from someone I know? Is it Selena, Xiaoguang, Xiaoyao, or? Xiaozhi curiously looked at the package and looked at the sender's details above. Sender. Magician. The sender left a message. This is a gift, hoping that you can further improve your relationship with elves and become a Pokémon master as soon as possible. Xiaozhi had some doubts and guesses, wondering if this wizard might have some connection with the one he had in mind. A wizard. This wizard is quite polite. Pick up. Pikachu nodded in agreement. Xiaozhi scratched his head, the package sent by the magician, I don't know what good thing is inside. Pikachu, use the iron tail. At the next moment, with a trial mentality, Xiaozhi issued an order to Pikachu. Pick up. Pikachu suddenly understood Xiaozhi's idea, and his yellow tail, which looked like lightning, suddenly emitted a metallic luster. Pikachu turned around, his tail gently sliding towards the sealing position of the package, and the seal pointing upwards along with the package was cut by the iron tail. Xiaozhi leaned down to check, but he wanted to see what the unfamiliar wizard had sent. Peeling open the cardboard box, the true face of the Lushan mountain was exposed, and 3 items were quietly placed inside. There is also a package inside, which seems to be a storage bag. Beside the shoulder bag lay a pure white elf ball. This is the commemorative ball. Xiaozhi muttered, this kind of ball is often used to capture some commemorative elves, and its value is priceless and extremely precious. In my impression, Lillian's brother Greyjoy had a silver companion beast with a commemorative ball. And this commemorative ball doesn't seem to be empty. If it's really the magician in Xiaozhi's impression, then it should be an elf ball inhabited by elves. Elves who don't know their name or appearance. Seeing this, Xiaozhi has already started to look forward to it. Pickup truck. Just as Pikachu was still puzzled, Xiaozhi had already picked up the commemorative ball. It's better to meet than to be famous. He wants to see what this so-called magician is mailing. Come out. Xiaozhi pressed the button of the commemorative ball, and a burst of red light condensed into the embryonic form of an elf. Soon, a small elf appeared in front of Xiaozhi. Xiaozhi stared, frowning as she watched the small elf appear, and a comforting smile unconsciously moved the corner of her mouth. Surprisingly. A phantom beast. Chapter 2. Cowardly Phantom, Old Friend. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As soon as the little guy appeared, he circled around Xiaozhi's room half a circle. Then it excitedly gestured towards Xiaozhi with a victory gesture. Its 3 claws are compared to a V shape, and when I saw Xiaozhi, I laughed and shouted. Tiny. Bictini. Xiaozhi's pupils shrank slightly, with a look of suspicion, not because a phantom beast was released from the commemorative ball. But rather, a phantom beast was released from the commemorative ball, and this phantom beast seemed somewhat familiar to itself inexplicably. There are some individual differences among the elves in the Pokémon world, and this Bictini is somewhat similar to the one in my impression. However, Xiaozhi is not yet certain. It is difficult to distinguish solely by visual observation. Pick up. Suddenly, upon seeing Bictini, Pikachu excitedly raised his tail and immediately attached himself to Xiaozhi's shoulder. A yellow-skinned mouse the size of a head did not put any pressure on Xiaozhi's shoulders, or rather Xiaozhi had become accustomed to sitting on this yellow-skinned mouse on his shoulders all the time. Pick up a pickup truck. Tiny. Tiny. The two elves may have met for the first time, but for some reason they developed a feeling of familiarity at first sight, as if they had known each other a long time ago. Bictini. Subconsciously, Xiaozhi opened his hands and embraced the elf with orange-red V-shaped ears in front of him. Pikachu's reaction was almost certain to Xiaozhi, and this was the bikini. In a double dragon incident of the Tao, one person and one elf experienced life and death together, and he can be considered to have a lifelong friendship with Bictini. But I just don't know how Bictini came to his side. If he remembers correctly, this elf still has his own attachment. Tiny. Rubbing against Xiaozhi's cheek, Bictini seemed to have something to explain and instantly broke free from Xiaozhi's bare embrace. Then he plunged into the cardboard box where the package was opened, and after searching, an undiscovered envelope was found. Bictini handed the envelope to Xiaozhi as if gesturing for him to read. This is a letter stamped with hot wax. Xiaozhi took the envelope and opened it, reading the content above. On both sides of the shoulders, one left and one right, two elves watched together. To Your Excellency Champion Xiaozhi, I believe this package has already been sent. There are still some packages that will be delivered to you one after another after you achieve a series of goals. I believe you may recognize the old friends in this Pokéball, but please don't worry, including the Pokéball made with the ability of Hooper. Returning to the Pokéball is equivalent to returning to your hometown/destination. As for my identity, you don't need to worry too much. Please treat me as a kind magician, Golden Finger, or System/Arceus. Finally, I wish you good luck and success in your dreams. Sincerely, Salute, this wizard. Is really quite polite. Xiaozhi muttered, without much hesitation, and had a general understanding of the content of the letter and the appearance of Bictini. So, Bictini, are you voluntary? After reading the letter and considering Bictini's emotions, Xiaozhi still confirmed on his own. For Xiaozhi, being able to tame elves is a good thing, but it will not go against the wishes of the elves themselves. Tiny. Tiny. Upon hearing this, Bictini nodded heavily, and a smile filled his face, enough to show his joy at the moment. Xiaozhi also smiled and nodded lightly, then handed a finger to Bictini and smiled in response. Then, please give me more guidance in the future. Bictini gripped Little Smart's fingers with both claws, and the two immediately reached a consensus. So and so, a sentence was stirring in Xiaozhi's heart, not spitting out or displeased. I have tamed the bikini. Pick up. Xiaozhi held the commemorative ball in a standard receiving posture, and Pikachu beside him echoed in agreement. After Bictini was released, he did not have any intention of returning to the Pokémon Ball and was playing on his own in the Room of Little Wisdom. Subsequently, Xiaozhi picked up the shoulder bag, and the feeling of picking it up could be inferred that it contained some items. Opening the zipper of the shoulder bag, Xiaozhi put one hand into the backpack. However, this backpack doesn't seem simple, even though it's a small shoulder bag, it can now hold Xiaozhi's entire arm. Xiaozhi was pleasantly surprised to see the interior of the shoulder bag, which seemed to form a space of its own. Various props were placed among them, and the Pokémon Ball alone was already no less than 10. Compared to the Pokéball, there are also various evolution props in it. The Stone of Thunder, the Stone of Fire, the Stone of Awakening, the Proof of Kings. There are also some items to carry. Wearing a belt of grandeur, paying attention to scarves, and keeping the stone unchanged. Consumables are even more abundant according to the rarity of the props. Even selling a portion can match his championship prize. Xiao Zhi continued to search. Although there were many props, it was a pity that there were not the kind of glass beads he wanted among them. That is, the Mega Awakening Stone. If possible, he also wants to enrich his own Mega System. Putting aside these two items, there is also this small notebook under the shoulder bag. After seeing the handwriting on the top of the notebook, Xiaozhi immediately revealed a sense of joy. Visa. Exploration is almost over, and the aroma of the food comes from outside the room. After touching his stomach and a burst of abdominal drumbeats, Xiaozhi changed into his pajamas and walked out of the room, together with Katini and Pikachu. Xiaozhi, a box of macarons was sent to my mother's friend today, and it was placed on the table. After breakfast, you can bring some to eat on the way. Huazi, who was cooking in the kitchen, saw Xiaozhi leave the room and reminded her to speak. She turned around to look at Xiaozhi and found that there seemed to be an unfamiliar face around her today. The one next to Xiaozhi is. Huazi's gaze turned to Bictini, and each person and elf exchanged glances for a while. Tiny. Bictini let out a scream and his figure disappeared instantly afterwards. Unlike the outgoing attitude towards Xiaozhi, this Bictini instinctively activates automatic invisibility when it meets a stranger. This is a timid Bikini. Mom, this is Bictini. This is the elf I encountered while traveling before. My friend brought it to me, but it's a bit shy. Xiaozhi introduced that while speaking, he remembered Huazi's reminder just now and pointed to the macaron box on the table. Mom, it really likes macarons. Upon hearing this, Huazi immediately understood and opened the macaron box on the table, taking out a macaron and tempting it with her hand. I'm Xiaozhi's mother, here you go. Bictini was still a bit hesitant, and when macaron was taken out, his eyes lit up. In the hand of the flower, there was an extra tooth-marked gap in the macaron. Bictini retreated to enjoy his food, slowly letting go of his guard against the flowers and revealing his figure. Afterwards, Bictini remained invisible and showed more affection towards the flower. Chapter 3. Padea Visa, Daiki Backyard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Number 34, Xiaozhi, be careful on the way and remember to have lunch. Number 34, after breakfast, Xiaozhi bid farewell to Huazi and went to Dr. Daimu's research institute with Pikachu. After winning the championship and experiencing a series of events, Xiaozhi rested at home for a while, and after that, he will start his next journey on his own. Xiaozhi's next destination is Padea, but as of yesterday, he has not yet obtained a visa for that area. Thinking of this, Xiaozhi opened his shoulder bag and searched for it before finding the visa that he had stored in the package. The first page of the cover is a satellite panoramic view of a scenic area, which is a local map with the names of the regions recorded on the map marked in the corners. The Parthian region. Accompanied by Xiaozhi, they flipped the map page and found a series of precautions recorded in the visa, as well as the cultural scenery of the region and the location of some elf pavilions. When flipping to the last page, a QR code image was displayed. There is a small text prompt above the picture. Please enable the scan function of mobile Lodem. This is an intelligent prop that combines the elf Lodem with a mobile phone. Seeing this, Xiaozhi took out Lodem and scanned the QR code above like a scanning elf. The Parthian elf guidebook has been updated, Lotto. Lodem's electronic sound was emitted, and the number of elves originally recorded in the Little Wisdom illustrated book was updated, adding dozens of elves he had never seen before. Babu Tupo Mili Long Dolphin Man Motorcycle Lizard. Xiaozhi's eyes lit up, and he suddenly felt a desire to surrender in his heart. With this in mind, the trip to Parthia should also be put on the agenda. Dr. Daiki. Xiaozhi arrived at Damu's research institute, where almost all of his elves were stored. When he arrived, he wanted to take some of his companions to fill his elf lineup. "Oh, isn't this Xiaozhi? Why, have you already decided on the purpose of your trip?" Dr. Daimu took a sip of noodles in the laboratory and curiously asked when Xiaozhi arrived. "Well, the next stop will be to Parthia, but before that, I need to go to another region to pick up some old friends." Xiaozhi nodded and looked at Dr. Daimu's research institute, which had updated a lot of equipment compared to Xiaozhi's first trip. "That's also good." Dr. Daiki agreed and spoke up, finally finishing his bowl of noodle soup and tidying up. "So, which companions are you taking with you today?" Knowing Xiaozhi's purpose, Dr. Oki opened the door to his own research institute's backyard, behind which was a lush mountain and river wilderness. "Some have not yet reached the final stage of evolution, I want to elevate their level. It's really rare for you to have such an idea." Upon hearing this, Dr. Oki sighed slightly. There was no other meaning, but today he suddenly felt that the once foolish thing had finally become a normal trainer. "Well, I feel like my battle spirit pool should also be more abundant." The two of them arrived in the backyard one after another, and when they learned of Xiaozhi's arrival, the voices in the backyard immediately started to shout. In a daze, the various elves that Xiaozhi has tamed over the past 25 years flocked to him, eager to meet this trainer who is like a hands-off shopkeeper. A sprite with a circle of bract plants on its body was the first to charge, and when it saw Xiaozhi, it flew over directly. Laurel leaves. Xiaozhi immediately recognized the elf, and in the next moment, the opponent's flying pounce would turn Xiaozhi upside down. The bay leaf affectionately rubbed against Xiaozhi, and after a few days without seeing her, it couldn't hide its longing emotions at this moment. Xiaozhi comforted the bay leaves and watched as his former companions gathered in front of him. Spitfire Dragon Lizard King Xiao Guladu Bug Yen. As for Bai Jiao, at the end of the journey, Xiaozhi had already picked it up and was currently submerged in Xiaozhi's pile of elves for him to choose from. Dozens of elves were gathered around Xiaozhi, and Xiaozhi looked like an emperor selecting his own concubine. "Ladies and gentlemen, please give me more guidance on the upcoming trip." Although it was just a short sentence, it caused all the elves in this area to cheer and cheer. The end of a generation in the past was the end of a generation, and these former companions were hardly used to fight in the next region. And now Xiaozhi has decided to change his previous habit of carrying 6 elves when going out. They are all in good condition now and can set off with you at any time. Demu looked at these elves and gestured for Xiaozhi to make a selection. Upon hearing this, the elves remained quiet and turned their expectant gaze towards Xiaozhi. "Sorry everyone, according to Alliance regulations, I can only bring 4 of you." 4. Including Pikachu, don't you still have 1 vacant seat? Dr. Daimu was puzzled and questioned, while Xiaozhi did not hide his mistakes and showed him the Pokémon ball he had just obtained. "I just tamed a little guy, but he's a bit timid and shy. Do you want to see him, Doctor?" Dr. Daimu nodded knowingly. Although he had doubts about what elf Xiaozhi had subdued, he did not ask too much. No need, each elf has their own personality, which can bring them different growth. If an elf with a timid personality grows, they will have many advantages in terms of speed. "Xiaozhi, you have tamed a great elf." Dr. Daiki praised it, and Bictini, who was hiding beside him, happily waved his small wings as he stood up. "It's really great." Xiaozhi agreed and immediately began his own selection. He turned his gaze to his companions in front of him and chose according to one of his criteria. Ba! Ba! Xiaozhi's upper body and laurel leaf eyes were sparkling, and upon hearing this, he began to crazily flatter, with an obvious purpose. "Take me on a trip." Xiaozhi couldn't resist the initiative of the laurel leaf, and the other party's conditions basically met Xiaozhi's requirements. Having potential and not reaching the final evolutionary stage means not knowing if the other party has the intention to evolve. "Laurel leaves, do you want to evolve?" Xiaozhi asked. This time he plans to take some elves with evolutionary intentions to start traveling. Upon hearing this, the laurel leaf hesitated for a moment, feeling a bit worried about its evolution, as its evolved weight has repeatedly propelled Xiaozhi to flight. And the weight that evolves again is likely to inevitably increase again, fearing that it will be difficult to express one's emotions to the trainer like this. Xiaozhi knew the other person's thoughts and touched the forehead of the laurel leaf to soothe and speak. It's okay. Then he rolled up his sleeves and showed his muscles to the bay leaves. Me. Xiaozhi. Super newcomer. One punch can knock down a Kentaro. Even able to break the spiritual barrier created by super dreams. It's just a flying collision of an evolved chrysanthemum, but that's all. Bay. The bay leaf nodded repeatedly, and immediately, a dazzling white light appeared from the bay leaf. Dr. Daiki stared wide and recognized this phenomenon. This is the light of evolution. Xiaozhi's arrival, in just a few words, actually led to the evolution of bay leaves. At this moment, under the white light, the size of the laurel leaves skyrocketed, and the buds surrounding the neck bloomed into flower leaves one by one. Laurel leaves seem to have evolved like this. Chapter 4. Xiaozhi, World Champion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Laurel leaves have evolved. If Xiaozhi had just been calm and relaxed, facing the laurel leaves evolving on him at this moment, he had a suffocating expression. The weight of the evolved bay leaf is significantly heavier. If the weight of the bay leaf just now made him feel like a child, the big chrysanthemum on his body at this moment is like an adult with some weight gain. Although it is quite heavy, it is still within the acceptable range for Xiaozhi. Laurel leaves have actually evolved. Dr. Daiki observed this phenomenon carefully and sighed again. Xiaozhi breaks away from the giant chrysanthemum and stands up. At this time, the giant chrysanthemum is much taller than him. Touching the forehead of Daisy, the other party enjoyed catering to Xiaozhi. Bah! It has evolved into a big chrysanthemum, but Xiaozhi, in this case, the big chrysanthemum has no potential for evolution. Dr. Daiki reminded her in a timely manner from behind, immediately causing Daisy, who was beside her in joy, to freeze in place. It's bad, evolution was hasty. Xiaozhi gave a bitter smile. Since the laurel leaf has evolved, the elf lineup he wants to take away will also undergo some changes appropriately. Sorry, Laurel. Well, now it's the big chrysanthemum, I'll definitely bring you next time. Xiaozhi apologetically patted de Juhua's forehead. He had originally planned to let de Juhua evolve through battles, but if the opponent had already evolved, he needed to consider his choice. Daisy fell to the ground with a painful expression, comforted by Pikachu beside Xiaozhi. Subsequently, Xiaozhi turned his gaze back to the elf in front of him and quickly made a choice. Round land shark, swimming weasel, rotten snake, fire rock rat, it's up to you. With a command from Xiaozhi, 4 elves with smaller body types immediately approached him. Apart from these few elves, Xiaozhi still has some preferences, but some have relatively more stringent evolutionary conditions, and some elves are still better off not evolving. For example, his mantle rock requires communication evolution to achieve conditions, and currently no one in Xiaozhi can exchange elves with him. Well, if you decide on these 4, I'll help you retrieve their Pokémon balls. Upon seeing this, Dr. Oki turned around and returned to the research institute. Shortly after, he took out 4 red and white Pokémon balls. These are the 4 Pokémon balls selected by Xiaozhi. Xiaozhi took the Pokémon ball and as 4 red lights shot out, these 4 Pokémon were all received into the Pokémon ball. Having obtained his 4 elves, Xiaozhi nodded in satisfaction and bid farewell to Dr. Oki in the research institute. Outside the research institute, Dr. Daiki tiptoed and watched as Xiaozhi went far away. To be honest, he still has some curiosity about the elf that Xiaozhi has just subdued. Xiaozhi walked for a while, and suddenly a little guy with orange-red ears appeared beside him. Dr. Daiki, who was just about to return to his room, stumbled and almost fell off the stairs of the research institute. Fortunately, a foul-smelling mud caught him beside him. Is the captured elf actually Bictini? Dr. Daiki looked quite frightened and smiled bitterly, then returned to the research institute. Xiaozhi was familiar with the roads in Kanto and rested all night in Xiaochangqing City that night. Ding Lingling, in a bicycle shop in Chongqing City, Xiaozhi seems to be picking bicycles from among them. Do you still remember owing someone a bicycle that hasn't been returned yet? It seems that there is more than one person. Due to Xiaoxia's proximity to Xiaozhi, Xiaozhi remembered about the bicycle and decided to give her a brand new one through Hualan City. Although Xiaoxia's bicycle has been repaired, the things that have been overhauled are incomparable to the new ones, and this is also another kind of gratitude from Xiaozhi for taking care of Xiaoxia all the way. Thank you for your patronage. Choosing Kung Fu, Xiaozhi chose several bicycles with better performance, and after a year of iteration, these bicycles also appeared in updated and more useful styles, similar to the elf guidebook. Subsequently, the owner of the bicycle shop happily sent Xiaozhi away. Xiaozhi got on his bicycle and test drove it, feeling that the speed was extraordinary. In less than half a day, he rode from Chongqing City to Hualan City. And Xiaozhi's first goal upon arriving in Hualan City is the Hualan Daoguan. On the one hand, it is to return Xiaoxia's bicycle, and on the most important hand, it is to use Xiaoxia to brush up on experience. Overall, the wild elves in the first few cities of Guandu are somewhat weak, and in a one-sided situation, they cannot reach the strength to evolve for the 4 elves in Xiaozhi's backpack. Compared to others, the elf of Xiaoxia, who is the head of the Taoist temple in Hualan City, is much more powerful. As for the local Taoist temple in Chongqing City, I just don't know if it's related to Sakaki at the moment, but for safety reasons, Xiaozhi chose to ignore it and not challenge it. At present, the rockets are only bothering him with the weak little red guy and Musashi, and if the others don't come, Xiaozhi won't care. Pushing open the gate of the Hualan Taoist Hall, one can see that it is not the previous water ballet performance. Nowadays, water ballet is operated separately from Hualan Daoguan, and Xiaoxia is the storefront of Hualan Daoguan. The once weak Hualan Water System Taoist Museum has undergone a transformation due to the joining of Xiaoxia Elf. If you want to schedule a challenge, please register now. The front desk of the Taoist temple pointed out the direction for Xiaozhi, but Xiaozhi did not come for a simple battle. I am a friend of the museum owner who came to deliver things. Xiaozhi explained a sentence and expressed his intention to the front desk. The museum owner is currently engaged in a battle. You can leave a message here and I will guide you later. The front desk politely responded, gesturing for Xiaozhi to input messages on the side. In recent years, the Elf Alliance has become more rigorous, which is much different from when Xiaozhi first started traveling. Xiaozhi nodded and consciously followed the rules. After all, part of the reason he came is also to gain experience. Although Xiaozhi's backpack contains some magical candies, energy blocks, and other items, these are consumables that can enhance the level and experience of elves. He tried to feed his round land shark a large handful, but this did not lead to its evolution. On the way, Xiaozhi tried to challenge some wild elves and could feel that the round land shark was becoming increasingly powerful. However, even though this round land shark should have far exceeded its evolutionary level, there seems to be no sign of evolution. This made Xiaozhi think about challenging more powerful opponents to facilitate evolution. Subsequently, Xiaozhi took out Lodum and, at the sign of the front desk, placed the guidebook on the scanning table. At the next moment, Xiaozhi's challenge message was successfully entered into the challenge system of Hualan City Daoguan. The receptionist who received Xiaozhi was still silently working on his work a moment ago, and his eyes widened in disbelief as he scanned Xiaozhi's message. Name: Xiaozhi. Registered residence: Zhenxin Town. Age: 11 years old. Identity: First generation champion of Alola Honors. Top 16 Quartz League, Honorary Trainer of Orange League, Top 8 Silver Conference, Top 8 Choyu Conference, dominating the development zone in the battle, Top 4 Suzuki Conference, Top 8 Kigaki Conference, runner-up in Mier Conference, champion of Monero Conference, champion of Pokémon World Championship. Trainer level. World Champion level. For a moment, the front desk widened its eyes and looked incredulous. The seemingly handsome and inconspicuous young man in front of me is actually the champion. And it's not just a championship honor, there is actually a more prestigious 8 Masters Championship champion among them. This is also known as a World-class champion. For champions, people know more about the champions in their own region, but if they don't carefully identify the champions in other regions, some people may overlook them. The front desk kept staring at Xiaozhi's messages, constantly scrutinizing the young man in front of her, and the excitement was written on her face. The champion is big, so we'll arrange a match for you. Chapter 5. Battle with Laplace. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Master, the champion has come to our gym. The receptionist immediately dialed the communication with the owner of her own restaurant. Although Xiaozhi wants to follow the normal process, when it comes to the championship title, there is probably no Taoist temple that would make a person with such status wait like a normal trainer. Speaking of champion, Xiaozhi, who is currently engaged in an elf battle, also appears somewhat eager. During the distraction, the horned goldfish commanded by Xiaozhi was bitten by the front teeth of Xiaolada, commanded by the battle trainer, and his eyes curled up in circles. In front of Xiaozhi is the new trainer of Guandu, who has already defeated Xiaoxia's 2 elves in the 3v3 battle with Xiaozhi. Humph is the only level at Hualan Daoguan like this. Fortunately, I even chose Miao Frog Seed to get through to Hualan Daoguan. The young challenger let out a cold snort. As a newcomer, he had also done a lot of strategy during his travels. In order to have a good corridor in the early stages, he started writing extensively when choosing the initial 3 imperial families. Seeing his little Lada easily defeat Xiaoxia's 2 elves, he felt a little regret in his heart. If I had known this earlier, I would have chosen Little Fire Dragon. Seeing this, Xiaozhi also put aside her attitude of dealing with ordinary trainers. Sorry, someone is looking for me outside. I need to finish quickly. Please come back to challenge me later. Xiaozhi clasped her hands together and apologized to the challenger in front of her, causing a wave of confusion. Is it over? I still have 2 elves left. Hey. Later on, I had a clever frog seed that restrained the water system. That's all. How can I lose? Just as the new trainer was puzzled, Xiaozhi put away the fallen horned goldfish and specially selected an elf ball from her waist. Go ahead. My sweetheart. When the young man thought about replacing the Rada dispatched Bulbasaur seed to play, his whole face froze in the next moment. Rampage Carp Dragon. The 2 just now were still weak horned goldfish and sea stars, how could this third one be a Tyrannosaurus? The newcomer trainer was harboring internal grievances, but the fierce carp dragon had already opened its huge mouth and let out a piercing roar. Little Lada, who had just hit the goldfish, was so scared that her hair exploded all over her body. After a moment, she couldn't resist the pressure and collapsed straight down. However, it seemed that there was more to it than that. After that, the head of the Taoist temple, Xiaozhi, gently stroked the tying rope on a braid on her head. A glass bead shimmered in front of the new trainer. Ding dong. Xiaozhi waited silently, and soon the door to the Daoguan room was opened. A young man walked out of the challenge room in a dejected state, staring at a Pokémon ball in his hand. I, a newcomer trainer, have been hit by a water cannon. What are you fighting with this Mega Raptor? The new trainer is self-doubting, looking desolate as he is about to leave the Hualan Dao Hall. Even if the Bulbasaur is restraining the Mega Rampage Supranosaurus, the difference in race value and level under the second stage of evolution cannot be compensated by the difference in attributes alone. You're also a newcomer, don't bother, the main Taoist here won't win. Noticing that there were other challengers outside the hall, he spoke up to the young man in the center and reminded him. What can be won? Xiao Zhi's mouth twitched, and when he saw this lost teenager, he knew what had happened. He knows the moves of Xiaozhi Mega's Tyrannosaurus Rex, and he still remembers Xiaozhi telling him before. As a Taoist master, no challenger has been able to break through the iron wall of her fierce carp dragon praying for rain and storm. Of course, Xiaozhi had broken Xiaoxia's wall before, using his shoulder friend. Pick up. Pikachu was shouting at the young man, but it was just a mere megalosaur, which was the result of a giant beast slaying and falling. Do you want to watch the battle? Xiaozhi kindly inquired. He is willing to regain the confidence of the other party for such trainers. After all, he had also encountered the same situation as the other party when he was still a newcomer and had fought at the Kai City Road Museum. However, after a special training session, he managed to overcome the opponent's Raichu with a difference of 1 evolutionary stage from Pikachu. Can you win? I want to see how long your arrogance can last, don't blame me for not reminding you then. The new trainer first expressed doubts, and then he said angrily. At this time, Xiaoxia also walked out of the arena with the new trainer. When she saw Xiaozhi, she was somewhat surprised and covered her mouth. Pick up. Pikachu noticed Xiaoxia's appearance and excitedly leapt towards her embrace. Xiaozhi. Why did you come to my place? Xiaoxia appeared quite surprised and interacted happily with Pikachu. I suddenly remembered that there's something I should also compensate you for. Xiaozhi smiled and helped the bicycle by the armrest. With the permission of the front desk, Xiaozhi pushed the bicycle into the hall. Return my bike. Is this still the little wisdom I know? Xiaoxia questioned and spoke up, squinting her eyes as she looked at the other person. Moreover, this is still the latest version of the Look Corolla series, doesn't it seem cheap? These things don't matter to the championship prize I received, and there are also discounts for buying from many families' bosses. Buying too many. There's a discount. So, Xiaozhi, how many cars did you buy? Even the championship prize money is not what you spend. Upon hearing this, Xiaozhi smiled and laughed heartily, explaining to Xiaoxia. Isn't there still the part between Xiaoyao and Xiaoguang? Speaking of Pikachu, he's really mischievous. Pickup truck. Upon hearing this, Picket Curtain beside him looked bewildered. Rat, I seem to have taken the blame, although it's just a matter of how much responsibility it has to do with it. Xiaoyao, Xiaoguang. Did I just pass it by? Upon hearing this, Xiaoxia's face suddenly turned half black. This, of course not, it's just that. Seeing Xiaozhi being poked open, he hesitated and explained. Okay, since that's the case, Xiaozhi, let's have one before and follow the rules of regular Taoist school battles. Seeing Xiaoxia speak in frustration, compared to Xiaozhi, who was brave enough to propose a battle, this time it was her who spoke first. When it comes to the battle, Xiaozhi immediately became interested. Just now, he felt guilty and was eager to try the elf battle. Before that, Xiaozhi had set aside the bicycle that she was going to accompany Xiaoxia. Subsequently, he and Xiaoxia stood in their respective positions on the water system elf battlefield. When he entered, Xiaozhi never forgot the new trainer. This game must have provided him with a lot of experience. Thinking of this, Xiaozhi invited the new trainer. Come in and take a look. Subsequently, the new trainer obediently entered the arena, and before that, he had not thought that this little intelligence and the Taoist trainer were still old acquaintances. Since he is an old acquaintance, will the owner give him some water? He thought to himself that both Xiaozhi and Xiaoxia had already prepared. Although it's been a long time since we last fought, you're not the only one getting stronger. Xiaoxia took out a Poké ball and faced Xiaozhi, eager to give it a try. Now we are engaged in a dojo battle between the dojo master Xiaoxia and Jinshin Town Xiaozhi. Both sides are limited to 3 elves and are only allowed to use one system. Is that okay with everyone? The referee inserted a dialogue in the middle and determined the rules for both of them. Both sides nodded in agreement, and after that, Xiaozhi also clarified the elf he wanted to play on. Then come on, Pikachu, let's decide. Xiaozhi spoke halfway, but there was no familiar sense of weight on his shoulders. At this moment, I had seen Pikachu and was still in Xiaoxia's arms. Pikachu seems to have been held by Xiaoxia. Pikachu showed an apologetic expression, unable to break free from Xiaoxia's embrace. It smiled awkwardly and waved at Xiaozhi, as if indicating that it was helpless in the upcoming battle. On the other hand, Xiaoxia's side showed a cold smile, and Xiaozhi knew that all of this was within the other party's plan. It's broken, Pikachu has defected. Xiaozhi spoke with a dejected expression. Without this general, it would be like cutting off his arm. Xiaoxia smiled strangely and took out a Pokémon ball from her waist, throwing it out. Let me show you my newly acquired treasure, come on, Laplace. A red light suddenly appeared, and from the Pokéball appeared a Pokémon with a thick shell on its back. Its body resembled that of a plesiosaur from the dinosaur era, and it emitted a dolphin-like sound when it opened its mouth. Wu Laplace let out a whimper and stared at Xiaozhi, full of fighting spirit. Laplace. Xiaozhi murmured, thinking about the Laplace she had released, but she didn't expect Xiaoxia, the owner of the Taoist temple, to have the same one. Although without Pikachu, Xiaozhi didn't fully rely on Pikachu for the 3v3 game either. Faced with Xiaoxia's water-ice attribute of Laplace, the elves brought by Xiaozhi cannot suppress much, or it can be said that they do not. Xiaozhi hesitated for a moment and hesitated about the choice of the 5 only elves to play. He compared his 5 elves one by one, as if most of them were restrained by this Laplace in terms of attributes. Chapter 6. Double Weakness, Mighty Headband. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 7. Reevolution, Sharptooth Land Shark. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Go up, Gem Starfish. Round Land Shark. It's up to you. The appearance of the gem starfish gave Xiaozhi a sense of familiarity. During his journey with Xiaoxia, this gem starfish was often dispatched by Xiaoxia. But I just don't know if the skill pool of this gem starfish has changed after such a long time. On both sides, the gem sea star has water plus superpowers, while the round land shark has dragon plus ground, and their attributes do not restrain each other. But if Xiaozhi remembers correctly, Gem Sea Star also has the ability to rapidly freeze light. Ice attribute moves pose a 4-fold threat to Earth dragons. For safety reasons, Xiaozhi still equipped a powerful headscarf for the round land shark before the battle. And for the moves learned by their own round land shark, there seem to be some minor issues now. Dig a hole, split it open, the Dragon Star cluster, bite it. Due to the limitations of the water system, the performance of some of the ground-based techniques of their own round land shark appears to be somewhat restricted. Round land shark, use it to bite. Click. Xiaozhi issued a command, and the ice surface that had just been condensed by Laplace still existed. The round land shark ran on it, heading straight towards the gemstone starfish in the water. Gem starfish. Use a frozen beam of light. As Xiaozhi thought, Xiaoxia once again fired a frozen beam of light. You can't be the owner of an ice-based gym, as you always use ice-based skills. Xiaozhi roast that he quickly commanded the round land shark to avoid. The ice surface was constantly condensing in the water, and the round land shark was nimble when opening its mouth. Although the frozen beam is restrained 4 times, while the round land shark evades, its ice-based skills also make multiple landing points on the water surface. The round land shark approached the gemstone starfish and stood up to leap. The frozen beam once again shot into the air, and the round land shark's mouth did not stop, easily biting one of the pointed feet of the gemstone starfish. It seems that no one has a rule that water-style museum owners cannot use non-water-style moves. They use 100,000 volts to dive into the water. Xiaozhi chuckled lightly and immediately ordered the gem starfish to use another non-native skill. If it were normal, 100,000 volts would not be effective for terrestrial land sharks, but at this point, the land shark's body would be different when it is covered in water. The golden lightning shone brightly from the entire water surface, and the round land shark biting the gemstone starfish felt numb all over, feeling the power of electrical skills for the first time. "How's it going, Xiaozhi? I learned it from you." Xiaozhi joked and chuckled lightly, remembering that the owner of a rock art museum had a big rock snake folded on top of Xiaozhi's sprinkled water and 100,000 volts of Pikachu. Why don't you learn from me? But how will I see you learn next?" Xiaozhi was beside, speechless and choking, but still commanded the round land shark to use the next skill. Dragon Star Cluster. Although receiving an electric shock, the tingling sensation did not make the round land shark loosen its grip on Xiaozhi's gem starfish, but instead bit harder. After receiving the instructions from Xiaozhi, a golden hue appeared at the mouth of the round land shark Dantian. "It's broken, gem starfish, break free." Xiaozhi quickly alerted the gem sea star. She had seen this scene at the Suzuki conference, and the round land shark used its bite to launch the opponent's teapot into the Dragon Star cluster. Although not restraining the other party, it is probably unnecessary to exercise attribute restraint after being hit by the round land shark. But the newcomer trainer on the side watched this scene with some confusion. "Ah! Is this in the river?" The gem starfish failed to break free, but in the next moment, the Dragon Star cluster condensed by the round land shark had already attached itself to the gem starfish. At the next moment, the round land shark looked up in mid-air, and the gem sea star flew out completely. A golden meteor burst forth, and countless golden meteors smashed onto the water surface. Gem starfish. Xiaozhi was worried and shouted, wondering if the gem starfish could withstand it. A moment later, a meteor fell to the surface, but it didn't look like a meteor, but rather like a starfish. The gemstone glow on the chest of the gemstone starfish became dim, but it still seemed to have some color, split open. Since the opponent's condition has not been determined yet, Xiaozhi has decided to use a one-hit ordinary skill to repair the sword. Xiaozhi looked at the gem starfish with a relaxed smile, and the meteor swarm of the round land shark did not make his gem starfish lose its combat ability. Freeze the light. The splitting of the round land shark had not yet hit, and a deep blue beam attacked and killed from one corner of the gem sea star. Suddenly, a burst of ice mist burst open, and two figures fell from the ice mist. The final frozen beam still hit the round land shark solidly, while the gem sea star fell onto the icy field and suffered a slight drop damage. The round land shark struggled to stand up. Xiaozhi thought this one would fall with the gem sea star, but he didn't expect the round land shark to stand up. The imposing headscarf has been triggered again, and after the rattan snake, the body of the round land shark also shines with evolutionary light. After a victory, the round land shark seemed to have also met the conditions for evolution. Surprisingly, we're going to evolve again. Xiaozhi watched this scene in a daze, her own elf evolving every time she dropped one of Xiaozhi's elves, always feeling like something was wrong. The elves I brought this time are all in the stage of evolution. Defeating some strong enemies can lead to evolution. I came to you for some of these reasons. Xiaozhi scratched his head and explained with an embarrassed smile. If he didn't explain it that way, it wouldn't be justifiable for his fire flame rat and swimming circle weasel to evolve again in the future. Take the experience pack of the Daoguan master. Is this really a newcomer? The new trainer swallowed a mouthful of saliva beside him, and his view on Xiaozhi slightly changed. At this moment, he also slightly noticed that the battle he had just had with Xiaozhi was not of the same level now. Xiaozhi frowned for a long time, but with Xiaozhi's guidance, she managed to sort out the reason. Wow, Xiaozhi, how could you treat me as an experience pack? Xiaozhi was extremely angry, her face turning red as if she was a little angry about Xiaozhi's behavior. Haha, I'm sorry, besides Xiaozhi, I can't think of any other strong enemies. Xiaozhi smiled and explained, and Xiaozhi then grasped the key point in Xiaozhi's words. Strong enemy. She muttered, I've only seen Xiaozhi. That's acceptable, but don't use me as an experience pack in the future. Her tone seemed to forgive Xiaozhi, but she was still a bit angry about Xiaozhi's behavior of using her as an experience pack. I already know. Why did you return my bike on a whim? It turned out it was for this reason. Xiaozhi gritted her teeth and gasped for breath as she collected the fallen gem starfish into the Pokémon ball. The light of the evolution of the round land shark is also dissipating at this moment. It can be seen that its body has become slender from its original spherical shape, with short claws growing out of 4 limbs, and shark-like fins extending above all 4. The round land shark evolved into the pointed-toothed land shark. However, its current state is similar to that of a green vine snake. Although it has evolved, its health is already very unhealthy. Thank you for your hard work. With a red light, Xiaozhi retracted the sharp-toothed land shark. The other elf who is about to play is also preparing in his hand. So, Xiaozhi, I believe you should also know what kind of elf I was the last to be. Be well aware. Xiaozhi gritted her teeth and said, holding the last Pokémon ball tightly in her hand. The 3v3 Daoguan battle has reached its final stage of competition. Chapter 8. Seeking Rain, Strolling Freely. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's a Tyrannosaurus. The new trainer doesn't have to think about it to know what kind of elf Xiaozhi wants to send out. Although his Bulbasaur had once fought against this Tyrannosaurus Rex, his Bulbasaur's skills did not hit the opponent, but instead he was hit by their water cannon and unable to rise again. However, Xiaozhi had fought Xiaoxia's Tyrannosaurus Rex and naturally knew that the opponent's Tyrannosaurus Rex was powerful. Having Mega Evolution aside, it seems to be the highest level among all the elves in Xiaoxia. Xiaozhi chose that after the evolution of the Mega of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, it was not the normal water plus flight attribute of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, but rather transformed into a water plus evil attribute. Since it is clear about the opponent's appearance, carrying the remaining 2 elves is somewhat disadvantageous. The pure fire-type Fire Flame Rat is twice restrained by the opponent. Although their own Bictini has superpower attributes that are normal damage, if they fight against the Mege Cyprinosaurus, superpower skills are ineffective against evil spirits. Thinking of this, Xiaozhi still had 1 player left. Although he had some disadvantages, he still sent him up. Swimming Circle Weasel, it's up to you. As Xiaozhi threw the ball, a water weasel with 2 tails stood up. Ah! The weasel in the swimming circle pinched its waist, full of fighting spirit. Just like the sharp-toothed land shark and the green vine snake, Xiaozhi also carried props for the swim ring. This time carrying is the evolutionary stone. This is a strange stone that can provide a decent dual defense for evolving elves. Xiaozhi then threw the Poké Ball, and with it, Xiaoxia's final ace appeared. Rampage Carp Dragon. Roar. As soon as the Tyrannosaurus Rex appeared, it roared at the swimming weasel seen on the field. A threatening sound seemed to bring blood pressure to the swimming weasel, but as brave as the swimming weasel, it still took 2 small steps back and was lowered by the opponent's attack. Rampage Carp Dragon. Use Water Cannon. Swimming Circle Weasel. The water fluctuates. Both sides are issuing instructions almost simultaneously. The Tyrannosaurus Rex condensed a fierce rapids from its mouth, while the Swim Circle Weasel condensed a deep blue wave ball ahead. At the first moment, the skills of both elves were thrown out simultaneously. The water cannon collides with the water wave, both of which are moves of the same series, but their power differs. At the next moment, the water jet from the water cannon collided with the waves formed by the swimming circle weasel, and the round ball of the water wave was ejected, causing the water cannon to deflect due to the impact of the waves. After a series of ups and downs, the 2 of them knew each other's depth, and at this moment, Xiaoxia had already started playing with the glass beads on her strap. Xiaozhi, keep an eye on it, your strong enemy. Accompanied by this, the Mega Evolution keystone on Xiaoxia's bandage burst into threads of light, while at the same time, a red and blue glass bead suddenly appeared at the center of the horns of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Stronger, braver, and more beautiful. My lovely sweetheart. The light emanating from the two beads began to connect, and when the silk thread was connected, the body of the Tyrannosaurus Rex suddenly emitted an evolutionary light similar to that of a green vine snake and a sharp-toothed land shark. Mega Evolution. In an instant, the body of the Tyrannosaurus Rex became even more plump, with a rough and wild body like a wall, and the huge opening under its ferocious face seemed like it could fit into a whole double-door refrigerator. Xiaozhi frowned. To be honest, his lineup wouldn't know how to win against this tyrannical elf without Pikachu. The trainer Ling Buting shivered beside him, although he had just faced it, he still couldn't stop feeling scared. He is a newcomer trainer, but from the moment he enters the Hua Landao Guan, he feels like a novice who has just left the beginner village and arrived at the castle belonging to the ultimate boss. How's it going, Xiaozhi? Without Pikachu, are you in a difficult battle? Xiaoxia joked about the inquiry and tenderly touched Pikachu's head in her arms. Pickups. Pikachu returned with an apologetic expression from his trainer, enjoying the horse-killing chicken brought to him by Xiaoxia. It's okay, actually the swimming circle weasel is not bad either. Use a sonic boom. Storm Carp Dragon, pray for rain. The fierce carp dragon extended its body, and dark clouds covered the entire battlefield. The swimming weasel, on the other hand, leaps high after receiving a command from Xiaozhi, and its tail swings and shakes out two white rays. The stormy carp dragon had no way to escape, and even after eating two sonic booms, it was still performing its own prayer for rain. After a moment, raindrops began to fall inside the indoor area of Hualandao Hall. Pray for rain. Next should be. Xiaozhi guessed that she had already anticipated Xiaoxia's next thoughts. That's right, Tyrannosaurus Rex, use storm. Accompanied by the roar of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, it stirred up gusts of wind, causing the water on the field to condense into a dragon roll and suddenly attack the swimming circle weasel on one side. Under rainy weather, storms and thunder are essential moves, so Xiaozhi doesn't expect his divine skills to quickly dodge and develop their effects. In addition to the water wave and sonic boom, the swim circle weasel also learned techniques such as the frozen fist and the water jet, but it didn't have a good hitting surface for the stormtrooper. However, on second thought, Xiaozhi had already decided on countermeasures: use water jet to forcefully rush over. Ah! Upon hearing this, a layer of water curtain immediately covered the body of the swim circle weasel, and the water was surging. The two tails of the swim circle weasel spun rapidly, wrapping themselves in the water and charging straight towards the Tyrannosaurus Rex. The water flow collided with the storm, and the ferret in the swimming circle rushed upstream directly into the water tornado. The water hose swept through the swimming circle of the weasel, pulling the water curtain layer by layer off its body, constantly dissipating the attack of the water jet from the swimming circle of the weasel. Quick freeze fist. As the water curtain covered by the water jet was about to disappear, Xiaozhi quickly instructed the swim circle weasel to use the next skill. The swimming circle weasel suddenly realized that with the surrounding water curtain still covering it, a deep blue beam of light converged on one of its fists. The extremely cold air condensed the water flow around the swimming ferret into ice crystals, and in the next moment, it suddenly broke free from the water tornado. Although separated, due to the water solidifying into ice, the swimming ferret was also frozen into a square ice column. However, even so, the momentum of the water jet did not diminish at all, and the swimming circle weasel maintained its icicle state and smashed towards the Tyrannosaurus Rex. What? Xiaoxia was surprised that the storm was not over yet, and Xiaozhi's swim circle attaché had already released two skills. The fierce carp dragon stared blankly, and by the time it reacted, the icicles formed by the swimming circle weasel had already hit his face without reservation. Roar! With a painful roar, the Tyrannosaurus Rex stumbled backwards and plunged into the water, while the ice around the swimming ferret was able to break free from the frozen state due to a single impact. Although rain can make a storm hit, it has also unlocked my swimming circle weasel's characteristic of swimming freely in the rain. Xiao Zhi chuckled lightly and pointed out the reason why his swimming circle weasel doubled its speed due to its unique characteristics when the storm carp dragon's cry for rain fell. Chapter 9. Water Release, Messenger Bird. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You can swim freely. Xiaozhi murmured. As the owner of the water museum, she naturally knew this characteristic, but relying on the magic of the fierce carp dragon, she was careless for a moment. Xiao Zhi, your swimming circle weasel has been trained well. Although she suffered losses under the hands of the swimming circle weasel, Xiaozhi did not give up at all. Instead, she looked at Xiaozhi's swimming circle weasel with a sideways glance, which became more and more pleasing to the eye. Well, if it could evolve, it could go even further. Seeing Xiaozhi praising her own elf, Xiaozhi agreed. Except for this battle with Xiaozhi, this swim circle weasel has maintained a good record among Xiaozhi's elves, even surpassing its own evolved form in an elven battle. Therefore, Xiaozhi believes that if the swimming circle weasel can evolve into a submerged weasel, it would not be too much to let the submerged weasel be his temporary main force at the moment. The swimming circle weasel jumped up from the water and landed at a landing point. It can be seen that Xiaoxia's storm was not ineffective, but caused him considerable damage. At this moment, its eyes were full of war, and its recent attack made it feel firsthand the strength of the opponent's Tyrannosaurus Rex. The storm carp dragon straightened its body. Although it was hit and fell into the water, the ice-based water skills did not cause him good damage. The fierce carp dragon and the swimming circle weasel looked at each other as strong enemies, waiting for their trainers to give orders. Well, I'm really looking forward to the evolution of this little guy, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Xiaoxia chuckled lightly as she was about to command the rampage dragon to perform a move, but the opponent, the swim circle weasel, had a strange movement all over her body. This guy. A white light suddenly enveloped the swimming weasel, and this time, it seemed that the swimming weasel had undergone evolutionary behavior during the battle. The swimming circle weasel's body swells, and the swimming circle on its neck covers its entire body like a scarf. Fish fins grow on the sides of its hands, making it much stronger than its originally compact body. Ah! The swimming circle weasel evolved into the diving float weasel. Xiaoxia stared at the lurking weasel with a rather excited expression. I seem to like it a bit, Xiaozhi. How about exchanging Pikachu with you? Xiaoxia handed Pikachu beside her and issued an exchange request. However, I said, Pikachu was originally my elf. Hiccups. Xiaozhi and Pikachu squinted their eyes and made the same expression, as if questioning Xiaoxia's brain circuits. Okay, since that's the case, I won't show mercy either. Seeing that the temptation was not successful, Xiaoxia once again commanded the Rampage Carp Dragon. Rampage Carp Dragon, Water Cannon. Diving and floating weasels, water ripples. However, when Xiaozhi wanted the Divine Weasel to continue using Water Wave, there was a slight change in the way the Divine Weasel used its moves. A torrent similar to that of the Tyrannosaurus Rex was generated at the mouth of the submerged weasel, and it almost simultaneously launched moves with the Tyrannosaurus Rex. However, if you look closely at it at this time, the skills released by the diving and floating ferret are the same as those released by the fierce carp dragon. Qianfu Weasel, you have learned the water cannon. Xiaozhi was amazed, and both sides had skills that were at odds. Subsequently, after several rounds of comparison, the dark clouds that had just formed by the storm carp dragon seemed to have dissipated a lot, and the speed of the divine weasel also approached a normal value. Storm carp dragon with flowing tail. Divine floating weasel, frozen fist. The move collided, and the submerged weasel was completely knocked back by the tail water and flew out. The Qianfu weasel, although evolved, lost the support of rainy days and evolution stones, its speed and defense were greatly reduced. It was hit by the final water flow of the stormy carp dragon and fell off the battlefield, with circles in its eyes. The Qianfu weasel has lost its combat ability. Please replace the challenger with a Pokémon. The referee came forward to confirm the condition of the submerged weasel and pronounced the verdict. It's a pity. Xiaozhi muttered that she had seen her own state of being a Tyrannosaurus, but it was also full of fatigue and scars. Thank you for your hard work, snorkeling weasel. Xiaozhi collected the floating weasel. Although he had not fought against the Mega Rampage Dragon, his opponent's state was also consumed to a state of devastation. He first looked at the remaining 2 Pokémon balls, and then at the Mega Raptor on the field. According to Xiaozhi's idea, the evolved green vine snake and sharp-toothed land shark are both slightly faster than the Mega Raptor, and no matter which one he sends to the field, they can harvest Xiaoxia's Mega Raptor. And Xiaozhi looked at a set of systems currently available on his wrist. He hasn't used the Z move yet, while Xiaoxia has already used the magic evolution. But even so, stop fighting, Xiaoxia, let's say you won. Xiaozhi chuckled lightly and gave up the game in an absolute advantage. Xiaoxia suddenly had a puzzled expression on her face, just as she asked Xiaozhi when she invited him to play. It seemed like the other person had changed. Why, this is not your style. Xiaoxia's incomprehensible inquiry greatly changed her impression of Xiaozhi. It's okay, this is not a formal battle either. I also have a bit of selfishness in it. My elves have just evolved and need some rest, so it seems that your Tyrannosaurus Rex also needs some rest. Xiaozhi chuckled lightly, and as the words fell, Xiaoxia Baoli Dragon autonomously released the Mega Evolution, collapsing as if unconscious. That's it. Xiaoxia smiled bitterly and released her hands from kidnapping Pikachu. Pikachu landed and immediately crossed the battlefield to return to Xiaozhi's shoulder. The referee on the side looked around and hesitated for a while before giving the result. Challenger has no intention of replacing Pokémon, Taoist Master wins. At this point, the new trainer on the other side no longer knows what to say. Xiaoxia smiled and scratched her head, feeling somewhat ashamed of the victory, but on second thought, she discovered the new continent. That means miss, I have won the championship. Xiaoxia chuckled, and this achievement was recorded in her life resume. The newcomer trainer who has been watching from the sidelines seems to have caught a blind spot in Xiaoxia's words. Champion. The newcomer trainer looked at Xiaozhi with a wooden expression, as if his mouth was wide open in shock, as if it could fit his own fist. Why is the confrontation becoming increasingly outrageous? So the new trainer I thought was actually the champion. Do you need to send you a championship badge or something? Xiaozhi scratched his cheek, which was also considered a retribution. During his first trip, the water from the Hualan Taoist temple was released, and this time he was able to bring it back to Xiaoxia. As the battle ended, several people walked out of the gate of the battlefield, experiencing an evenly matched battle and naturally going to the nearby elf center to recover. Xiaozhi and Xiaoxia's journey, although only along the way to the ferry center in Hualan City, gave them a sense of nostalgia after a long absence. Goo goo dot. On the way to the elf center, a faint electronic sound effect could be heard in mid-air. A spirit resembling a messenger bird was flying aimlessly in mid-air, its gaze wandering around as if searching for a target. It flew over Hualan City, and when looking down, it immediately locked onto a target. Recipient, Xiaozhi. Chapter 10. Second Package. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Almost in an instant, the messenger bird, determined by its target, bent down and fell toward Xiaozhi. Xiaozhi and Xiaoxia just left the Hualan Taoist Hall, and the two are still reminiscing about the past with each other. Looking back on everything, Xiaoxia's eyes were sparkling, and her past experiences should be counted as her beautiful memories. However, just as he was immersed in his emotions, a metallic collision sound inexplicably came from his ear. When dot. Ah ah. Pickup truck. Xiaozhi's scream seemed to be coming from beside her, and Xiao Xia's reflection was interrupted. Looking for her reputation, she saw that Xiao Zhi, who had just stood beside her and had a great conversation, had collapsed to the ground due to some uncontrollable reason. Xiao Zhi. This is. Xiaoxia murmured, somewhat concerned about Xiaozhi's situation, but was indeed attracted by something that suddenly appeared next to Xiaozhi, resembling an elf. This guy, who is not sure if he can be considered an elf, has a metallic luster all over his body. A pair of pixel-shaped eyes look around and transform into a playful expression between Xiaozhi and Xiaoxia. And its appearance seems to resemble a messenger elf, a messenger bird. But this messenger bird seems to be cast from a mechanical lock. Is the mechanical messenger bird the rocket team? Xiaoxia immediately became aware that the rockets had been harassing them with this high-tech device countless times. However, when Xiaoxia alerted Xiaohui, the mechanical messenger bird seemed to have no intention of attacking, but instead focused entirely on Xiaozhi. If it were an article written by a normal rockets team, the target at this point would be Pikachu from Xiaozhi. Xiaozhi covered his forehead with pain and looked at the stranger in front of him with some resentment. Just now, this thing fell from mid-air and hit his head. Goo recipient Xiaozhi. This mechanical messenger bird emits an electronic murmur, and apart from this sentence, it doesn't seem to speak any other language. Just like the messenger bird has a package, this mechanical messenger bird also has a package, just a metal package. Having seen Xiaozhi, it seems certain that he is the recipient. This mechanical messenger bird dug into his package and then pulled out a delivery box from it. On top of the box, just like the package Xiaozhi received last time, the sender's name is marked on it. Magician. The package was handed over to Xiaozhi, and then the mechanical messenger bird aimed the opening of the iron package at the ground, and suddenly there was an airflow spraying from it. In this way, the mechanical messenger bird flew high again with this airflow. It doesn't seem like the rockets, but it doesn't seem like the elves recorded in the guidebook either. Xiaoxia watched the strange elf go. As a habit developed in the elf world, she would usually use a picture book to scan unfamiliar elves. At this time, Xiaoxia had already taken out the elf guidebook, but Lodum's guidebook showed no specific information about the elf. Xiaozhi, are you okay? Later, Xiaoxia reached out her hand and asked about Xiaozhi's condition next to her with concern. It just hit my head, thank you, I'm fine. Xiaozhi was helped up by Xiaoxia. He first dusted off the dust on his body and watched the mechanical messenger bird fly away. To be honest, not only Xiaoxia, but also this iron messenger bird that he has never seen, even though he has already updated the atlas of the Parthian region. However, the strange messenger bird does not seem to be recorded in the guidebook. Startled by the messenger bird, the two of them first chose a bench on the street to sit on. Just now I was hit by the iron head, and at this moment Xiaozhi's head always feels dizzy. Xiaozhi placed the package he had just received from the mechanical messenger bird on his lap. Do you remember the last time the wizard sent a package? It was mentioned in the letter that when Xiaozhi met a specific goal, he would send a package. Xiaozhi thought that this time he should have met some of the goals mentioned in the previous letter. Xiaozhi, won't you open and take a look at the things I gave you? Xiaoxia looked at the package and seemed to be curious about the contents inside. Xiaozhi nodded, naturally having the idea of opening the package. This time he didn't speak and patted Pikachu's back, which Pikachu immediately understood. Pick up. Monster / right. I understand. The steel-like tail once again came in handy, as with a gentle swipe on the cardboard box, the seal on the package was easily torn open. Xiaozhi opened the cardboard box, and the item mailed by the magician this time was slightly different from last time. A book. A letter, and... Compared to the last item, the other two seem a bit too ordinary. Gulu, I saw a glass bead inside the cardboard box rolling a short distance due to the tilt of the package. Mega Stone. Xiaozhi and Xiaoxia spoke in unison and immediately recognized one of the items. Xiaozhi picked up the mega stone and reflected the color condensed at the center of it clearly towards the sunlight. Surprisingly, it's a mega stone. It's not easy to get, but I don't know which elf's mega stone it is. Xiaozhi sighed on her own, saying that she also has a mega stone from the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and Xiaozhi also has a mega stone from Lucario. The two of them knew the difficulty of obtaining this small stone. Xiaozhi frowned beside him, lost in thought. Unlike Xiaozhi, he had a very clear memory of the mega stone, especially for the one in front of him. It's from the Spitfire Dragon. Xiaozhi spoke confidently after only observing for a while. When I remember the Carlos League, Alan's Spitfire Dragon had a magic stone with black mixed with blue patterns. And this stone is a super advanced fossil sprayed by X. And for the same game, there was a named Doroba, who was a Spitfire Dragon Y.Series evolutionary stone with a red and orange-yellow pattern. Other evolutionary stones may forget, but the evolutionary stones of the Spitfire Dragon have very clear memories. Xiaozhi, are you so certain? If it were really a fossil of a fire-breathing dragon. In Xiaozhi's pupils, there was a reflection of the shape of this evolutionary stone. Originally, the absence of the mega stone during the first wave of gifts made him feel a little disappointed. When he saw this stone, the disappointment he had once experienced was swept away at this moment. Xiaozhi glanced sideways and, as someone who had witnessed the deeds of Xiaozhi and the Spitfire Dragon, she knew the importance of the Spitfire Dragon in Xiaozhi's heart. What form is this stone? Xiaozhi also had some expectations and asked curiously.